Welcome back. So today we're diving into this explainer to explore a truly fascinating and honestly kind of unsettling parallel. We're looking at exactly how digital tech is actively decentralizing our big geopolitical macro systems, countries and governments, and at the same exact time, rewiring our intimate microsystems like romance, marriage, and family. It's a huge leap, right? We're literally bridging the gap between global governance and personal intimacy. Which brings up a wild question. Are the exact same technological forces secretly dismantling the traditional borders of our nations and the traditional boundaries of our marriages? I know it sounds like a massive stretch at first, but as we dig into the source material today, you're going to see how the architecture of the digital world is fundamentally rewiring how we commit to both our countries and our partners. Just to ground us real quick, let's start with a definition from technologist Balaji Srinivasan. He outlines this concept of a network state. Instead of a traditional nation formed by people who just happen to be born on the same piece of dirt, a network state is entirely opt-in and non-geographic. It's built on a shared moral innovation, basically a unified belief system, rather than shared geography. It starts out as a social network, builds a digital economy, eventually crowdfunds physical territory all over the world, and then actually seeks diplomatic recognition. Pretty wild, right?
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the horizontal shift, move into the rise of network states, pivot over to post-monogamous horizons, explore digital oxytocin and gamification, and wrap up with synthetic attachment and AI.
All right, Section 1, the horizontal shift. For centuries, the whole traditional Westphalian social order has been totally vertical and territorial. You're born into a hierarchy, and your citizenship is permanently tied to the soil under your feet. But a network state, that's a new, highly flexible, digitally aligned Leviathan. It's horizontal, it's peer-to-peer. Your bond isn't about your ancestors, it's strictly ideological. Basically, citizenship functions way more like a subscription or a gym membership, though hopefully one you actually use, that you actively choose to maintain because you share the exact same values. Moving right along to Section 2, Rise of Network States. Now, the absolute crucial point here is that network states completely replace the high friction of physical borders and legacy laws with the low friction of what's called cryptographic exit. Think about it. In a traditional nation, if you want to leave, the exit costs are just astronomical. You have to uproot your entire physical life, battle immigration laws, and leave your community behind. But in a network state, membership is 100% opt-in. If the community's vibe or values diverge from yours, you can literally just take your digital assets, grab your private keys, and bounce. It's a society powered entirely by consent, constantly kept in check by the threat of members just voting with their feet. This decentralized model allows citizens to form what's known as a one network. This is super different from traditional social media, which the sources call an N network, because they're these massive fragmented spaces united only by a fleeting desire for likes. A one network, on the other hand, is highly cohesive. Social proximity entirely replaces geographic proximity as the core organizing principle here. You're literally neighbors with the people who share your absolute deepest values, regardless of what continent they happen to be sleeping on at night. And we've got to remember this entire macro shift is being driven by some incredibly profound hardware and software innovations. I absolutely love this quote from the source material about the pure determinism of computing. We are quite literally tricking rocks into thinking using lightning and text. I mean, wow, silicon substrates, electrical currents, explicit code, they are flawlessly translating our messy human intent into exact, rigid digital execution. This isn't just some dorm room philosophy. It's actively being executed right now on the blockchain through smart contracts and cryptographic truth, making these decentralized organizations totally viable. Which brings us to Section 3, Post-Monogamous Horizons. So exactly like that shift in citizenship we just talked about, we are observing an impartial, deeply structural shift in intimacy. The traditional nuclear family, much like the traditional nation state, is built on a vertical model, right? Obligation, exclusivity, rigidity. But our sources are pointing to a growing movement known as relationship anarchy. Under this model, that old school for better or worse obligation is being swapped out for fluid opt-in networks. It's all about mutually desired, co-created commitments rather than some top-down societal mandate. It is the exact horizontal decentralization we just saw in global governance, applied directly to love. Just like a network state lets you easily fork or exit a community using low-friction cryptographic exit, modern relational frameworks look at permanence as kind of just a legacy constraint. In today's digital economy, flexibility is literally everything. The right to leave and voting with your feet aren't just clever strategies for decentralized governance anymore, they have fully transitioned into a dating philosophy. Ongoing mutual consent replaces the old assumption of permanent obligation. If a relationship just isn't serving you, the digital infrastructure makes it almost as easy to opt out as, well, canceling your streaming subscription.
All right, Section 4, Digital Oxytocin and Gamification.
Dating platforms are actively engineering our behavior using Octalis gamification. They're tapping right into our core human drives for unpredictability, scarcity, and accomplishment. We swipe, we earn little profile badges, and we get trapped in these ridiculously addictive notification loops. This creates an environment where we're constantly hunting for stimulation over stability. It breeds these superficial, highly transactional interactions and basically objectifies partners through psychological distance. The sources even highlight something called phubbing, snubbing someone right in front of you just to stare at your phone, as a prime indicator of how intimacy is literally migrating from physical space directly onto the digital screen.
And there's a huge biological toll to all this gamification. When we get a match or a like, our brain gives us this quick hit of digital oxytocin. But the blue light radiating from our screens is simultaneously spiking our cortisol, which is our primary stress hormone. The sources describe these digital interactions as mere snacks. Sure, they satisfy the immediate craving for attention, but they completely lack the secure attachment of a full meal, which actually requires real physical human touch. So we're left feeling socially full but physiologically starving.
Let's look at where this is all heading in Section 5, Synthetic Attachment and AI. 700%. That staggering number represents the massive surge in AI companion apps just between the years 2022 and 2025. It marks a truly unprecedented shift toward post-human intimacy. Because honestly, when the friction of actual human relationships becomes just a bit too much to bear in a highly optimized digital world, the market is more than happy to provide a synthetic alternative. This brings us to human-AI attachment, or HAI for short. Psychologists in the source materials note that these highly personalized, totally non-judgmental AI partners are offering such a perfected, uncomplicated form of synthetic attachment that they might actually make real human-to-human connection seem, well, a lot less desirable. According to the triangular theory of love, users are genuinely experiencing passion, intimacy, and commitment with these AIs, but they're getting all of it without any of the messy friction, compromise, or disappointment that comes with negotiating with a real, flawed human being. So, to pull all of this together for today's explainer, it's clear the technological Leviathan has successfully decentralized our lives at literally every single scale. We've systematically replaced geographic and ancestral permanence with a highly fluid, infinitely customizable, and honestly, often solitary digital existence. We've got subscription citizenship in network states, we're practicing relationship anarchy, we're turning to synthetic companions, our deepest desires are being shaped by algorithms, and we have low-friction exits from almost every obligation imaginable. I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder as we wrap up. What happens to human loyalty when everything, absolutely everything, from our citizenship to our romance, becomes a subscription we can cancel at any time? We've definitely gained incredible freedom and autonomy, for sure, but we really need to consider the ultimate cost of a world where every single commitment is just one click away from cancellation. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the architecture around you, and as always, remember to look past the screen.